The Wind Chapter. In the martial arts, you know the way of other styles. As I write about these other styles of martial arts here, I have designated this as the Wind Chapter. It would be quite difficult to understand the way of my style without knowing the way of others. When you inquire into the other martial arts, you see that there are styles that base their techniques on grasping a large longsword and specializing in strength. There are others that use a small longsword, that is, a short longsword, and exert themselves in their way. There are yet others who make contrivances with many sword techniques and teach their way by stances with the sword, saying, "These are the outer stances, these are the inner." In this chapter I will express with certainty that none of these are the true way, and will show you what is good, what is bad, what is based on principle, and what is not. The rationale of my own school is completely different. The other schools get along with this as a performance art, as a method of making a living, as a colorful decoration, or as a means of forcing flowers to bloom. Yet can it be the true way if it has been made into a saleable item? Moreover, the other martial arts in the world only give fine attention to swordsmanship, teaching ways of handling the sword, body postures, or hand positions. Can you understand how to win by these things? None of them are the unfailing way. In this chapter I will write down the deficiencies of the other styles one by one. Investigating this thoroughly, you should understand the advantages of the two-sword style. Carrying a longsword in other styles. There are other styles that prefer a longsword. From the standpoint of my own martial art, this can be seen as a weak style. The reason is this. Not knowing how to defeat others in any situation, they put virtue in the length of the sword and think they can win by their distance from their opponent. For this reason, they prefer a long sword. The common saying, "A hand longer by an inch has the advantage," is but information quoted by those who do not know the martial arts. Without knowing the principles of the martial arts, they would win at a distance by using a longer sword. Because of their weak hearts, this can be seen as a weak martial art. When your opponent rushes in close, the longer your sword, the less efficient it becomes. Accordingly, you will be unable to handle your sword freely, it becoming only so much baggage, and you will be at a disadvantage to a man brandishing a small, short sword. Those who prefer long swords will have their explanation, but it is only their own individual quibbling. It is unreasonable when seen from the true way in this world. Would you be sure to lose if you did not carry a long sword, but carried a short one instead? Or, according to the situation, what if you were in a place closed in at the top, bottom, and sides? Likewise, if you were intent on preferring length and had only a short sword, you might come to doubt your martial art and enter a bad frame of mind. Depending on the person, there may be those with less strength. Yet it has been said since ancient times that the large goes together with the small. This is then not a matter of disliking the long unreasonably, but a matter of disliking the mind that prefers the long. A long sword is like having many men in martial arts situations involving large numbers, while a short sword is like having few men. Do large and small forces not meet in battle? There are many examples of small forces defeating large ones. In my martial art, we dislike such one-sidedness and narrowness of mind. You should investigate this thoroughly. Using the sword forcefully in other styles. There should be no such thing as forceful or weak strokes with the sword. The sword handled with a forceful frame of mind is going to be rough, and it is difficult to win with roughness alone. Moreover, when you go to cut someone forcefully with your sword, you will try to cut with unreasonable strength, and this will not be the right mentality for cutting at all. It is wrong to cut with great strength, even when you are testing your blade. When you cross swords with an opponent, no matter who he is, do not think about cutting forcefully or weakly. Simply, when you consider cutting someone down, do not use a forceful frame of mind. nor, of course, a weak one. Think only so far as your opponent's dying. If both you and your opponent strike forcefully with your swords, the strain will be too much and the result undoubtedly bad. And if you hit someone's sword forcefully, your own sword will probably break as well. Therefore, do not use your sword forcefully. Even in martial arts situations involving large numbers, if you were thinking of going into battle with a strong number of men, your opponent will likely be thinking of doing the same. Accordingly, both sides will be equal. In my style, you do not think about overdoing anything in the least. Be intent on winning in any situation by your strength of knowledge of the martial arts. You should make thorough efforts in this. Using the short sword in other styles. To think that you will win using only a short sword is not the true way. Since times past, the terms longsword and sword have been used to express how long or short a blade is. In this world, people of great strength are able to easily handle a longsword, and so there is no need for them to unreasonably prefer a short one. Accordingly, for the sake of length, you carry a spear or a long sword. With short long swords, people think they can thread their way through the gaps of others, flailing regular swords, dash into their midst and lay hold of their opponents. But this is one-sided thinking, and wrong. Moreover, aiming at unguarded moments can be considered the same as being constantly on the defensive. This is undesirable because your mind becomes entangled. It will be useless in the middle of a large number of opponents to take a short sword and rush into their midst, hoping to take a trophy. Some may think they can use a short sword to cut their way into a large crowd, leaping and moving around, but they will always be on the defensive and entangled. This is not the sure way. All things being the same, mine is a way in which it is important that you attack vigorously and directly, chasing your opponents around, making them jump back and confusing them, and gaining the victory with certainty. This principle applies as well in martial arts situations involving large numbers. All things being the same, it is an essential point of the martial arts that you are intent on rushing into your opponents quickly with a large number of men and crushing those opponents immediately. When people in this world study these things, they ordinarily learn parrying, dodging, withdrawing, and evading. But these draw their minds from the way and allow them to be pushed around by others. Because the way of the martial arts is direct and true, it is essential that you be intent on pursuing others and subjugating them with true principles. You should investigate this thoroughly. Using many techniques with the sword in other styles. Teaching people many techniques with the sword makes the way into a saleable item, and the knowledge of many sword techniques is for the sake of impressing the beginner. This is undesirable in the martial arts. The reason for this is that thinking of the various different ways of cutting someone down confuses the mind. In this world, there are no extraordinary ways of cutting someone down. For those who know, for those who don't know, for women and children as well, there are not many ways to strike, beat, or cut. Other than the method of cutting down, there are only those of stabbing and slicing. Since this is, first of all, a way of cutting a person down, there are not so many fine details. Nevertheless, according to the place and condition, as in being cramped in from above and at the sides, you can carry a sword without using it. There are 5 ways of doing this, and they are called the 5 directions. Otherwise, cutting people down by additionally twisting your hand, contorting your body, jumping, or opening up is not the true way. Cutting someone down cannot be done by twisting, contorting, leaping, or opening up. Such things are absolutely useless. In my martial art, it is essential that both body and mind are composed in a straightforward way, and that you bend and warp your opponent, taking the victory by twisting and distorting your opponent's mind. You should investigate this thoroughly. Using other stances with the sword. It is harmful to specialize in stances with the sword. In this world, taking stances should be done when there is no opponent present. The reason for this is that in examples from the past and practices from today, establishing hard and fast rules is not the way of victory. That way is in devising difficulties for your opponent. In all things, the heart of taking a stance is in not being moved. The idea of taking a stance at a castle in battle array, for example, is that you stand strongly unmoved even though you were attacked. This is normal. In the way of victory through the martial arts, you are intent on taking the initiative, always the initiative, in all things. The heart of taking a stance is in waiting for the initiative. You should make thorough efforts in this. In the way of victory through the martial arts, you move the other person's stance. You do something your opponent is not expecting, fluster him, make him uncomfortable, threaten him, or grasp the rhythm of his confusion. If you seize the victory in these ways, taking a stance will be understood as taking the defensive, and this will be undesirable. Accordingly, my own way is that of stance, no stance, which is to say, taking a stance by having no stance at all. In martial arts situations involving large numbers, it is important for the battle that you consider the number of your opponent's troops, understand the condition of the battlefield, know the abilities of your own men, and grasping the virtues of these things, set up your men and start the fight. What doubles the chances of winning or losing is whether the other side takes the initiative, or you yourself take the initiative. To think that you will take up a fine stance with the sword, adroitly parry your opponent's sword, and then strike him well, is the same as using spears and long swords as boards in a palisade. Again, the crux of this is that when you strike your opponent, you can pull up a board from a palisade and use it as a spear or long sword. You should investigate this thoroughly. Fixing the eyes in other styles. How to fix the eyes goes according to the style. Some fix their eyes on their opponent's sword, while in other styles they fix their eyes on their opponent's hands. Others fix their eyes on the face, and others on the feet. All of these, as they fix their eyes on one special place, confuse the mind and pose a malady to the martial arts. This is the reason. Although those who play Kemari do not fix their eyes on the ball, they are able to execute the difficult techniques of the game. Because they have become accustomed to it, it is not a matter of a certain place to look. For the techniques of people doing acrobatic tricks, each becomes accustomed to their way, whether it be balancing a sliding door on the nose or juggling a number of swords. For such things as these, though they do not fix their eyes in one certain place, it looks natural because they have practiced habitually. In the way of the martial arts as well, by becoming used to fighting with different opponents, by learning the proportions of a man's mind, and by grasping the practice of the way, you will be able to see through the distance and speed of his sword. Fixing the eyes in the martial arts is looking into the large picture of a man's mind. In martial arts situations involving large numbers, set your eyes on the abilities and conditions of your opponent's men. Of the two ways of observation and seeing, the eye of observation is the strongest. It is essential that you take the victory straight away by seeing the mind of your opponent and the conditions of the place, by fixing your eyes broadly and by seeing the condition of the battlefield and its different possible strengths and weaknesses. In the martial arts of both large numbers and one-on-one, do not fix the eye with a narrow focus. As mentioned before, if you fix the eye with a detailed, narrow focus, you will miss the large picture, create for yourself a confused mind, and be stripped of a sure victory. You should investigate these principles thoroughly and put them into practice. Use of the feet in other styles. In the use of the feet, there are various quick ways of stepping, called things like floating feet, leaping feet, springing feet, stamping feet, or crow's feet. From the viewpoint of my own martial art, I think them all to be insufficient. Floating feet is undesirable because when engaged in a fight, your feet will very likely have a tendency to feel loose. Accordingly, my way is to step with all the more stability. As for the undesirability of leaping feet, when you leap up using this step, your mind will become absorbed in the action of leaping. And as there is no reason for you to leap up many times anyway, leaping feet is wrong. As for springing feet, again, if your mind is set on springing, it will go no farther than this. Stamping feet, as a step of waiting, is particularly undesirable. Other than these, there are various other quick steps, like the crow's feet. You may cross swords with an opponent in swamps, damp land, mountains, rivers, pebbled plains, or narrow roads. Depending on the place, there may be no leaping or springing, and there will be places where you will not be able to take quick steps at all. There is no change in your steps in my martial art. It is like your usual walking on a road. Following your opponent's rhythm, you should grasp the conditions and abilities of his body, both when he is hurried and when he is at ease, and then move, neither insufficiently nor too much, without stepping over yourself. Managing your steps is essential as well in martial arts situations involving large numbers. Here is the reason. When you attack quickly and indiscriminately, without knowing the mind of your opponent, you will confuse your own rhythm and make it difficult to gain the victory. Moreover, if your steps are too slow, you will not detect the moment when your opponent may be flustered and fall apart. Victory will escape you, and you will be unable to win quickly. It is essential to take the victory by seeing through to the place of your opponent's confusion and collapse, and by not giving him a moment to collect himself. You should practice this thoroughly. Using speed in other styles. Speed in the martial arts is not the true way. Concerning speed, we say that something is fast or slow depending on whether it misses the rhythm of things. If someone is skilled in this way, he does not appear to be fast. For example, if someone is said to be fast on the road, he may cover a distance of 40 or 50 ri, yet this is not a matter of running fast from morning till night. A man unskilled on the road may run all day long, but will not make much progress. In the dance of no drama, if a skilled person is chanting and an unskilled person accompanies him, the latter will feel as though he is falling behind and will then become hurried. Also, in the play Oematsu, the beat for both small and large drums is tranquil, but an unskilled player will feel behind or ahead of the beat in turn. In the play Takasago, the beat is quick, but it is wrong to go too fast. Run fast and you'll fall down warns against missing the beat. Of course, being slow is also wrong. Here, too, a skillful person may appear slow, but he is never off the beat. No matter what a well-trained person does, he never appears hurried. With these examples, you should understand the principles of the way. In the way of the martial arts particularly, it is bad to go fast. The reason for this is that, according to the place, there may be swamps or damp areas. It may be difficult for either body or feet to go fast. It will be all the more impossible to cut someone down quickly with your sword. If you try to cut him down quickly, it will not be done as if using a fan or a short sword. Accordingly, if you make to cut quickly, you will not cut at all. You should understand this thoroughly. In martial arts situations involving large numbers, it is wrong to have a mentality of fast or slow. With the mind of pressing down the pillow, you will not go slowly at all. Again, if someone is indiscriminately fast, it is essential that you counter this, become tranquil yourself, and not be pulled into this speed by him. You should make efforts and practice the meaning of this. Interior and exterior in other styles. In the martial arts, what is meant by exterior and what is meant by interior? According to the art or what you touch upon, these terms speak of esoteric meanings and secret traditions, as well as entrances to the interior. But when it comes to the principles of crossing swords with your opponent, there is no such thing as fighting by means of the exterior and cutting someone down by means of the interior. My way of teaching the martial arts is to take a man who is a beginner in the way, have him learn according to those skills that he may develop well, Teach him principles that he will quickly understand first. See through the places where his mind may be suitable for matters not easily understood, and gradually, teach him the deeper principles later. Nevertheless, this is a matter of having him learn how to cross swords in battle, so there is no point called the entrance to the interior. In this world, then, when searching for the interior or depths of a mountain, if you think of going even farther into the interior than you already are, you will go right out the entrance again. In the way of any subject at all, there are points fitting for the interior and good things regarding coming through the entrance. Here, concerning the principles of battle, what should be hidden? What exposed? Accordingly, in teaching my way, I dislike such things as written oaths or contracts with retribution. Observing the strength of knowledge of the person studying this way, I teach him what is correct, have him discard the failings of the various other styles of the martial arts, and direct him naturally into the true way of the practices of a warrior with no doubts in his mind. This is my way of teaching the martial arts. You should practice this thoroughly. In the above 9 sections of the Wind chapter, I have written an outline of the other styles of the martial arts. Although it is necessary to write down with certainty about the various styles from their entrances to their depths, I have purposely not recorded either the names of those styles or the names of their greatest concerns. The reason for this is that the view of each style and the explanations of each way go according to the mentalities of different people. Thus, there are some differences of opinion within the same style. Accordingly, for the sake of those in the future, I have not written about the course of each style. Throughout the 9 sections of general explanations about the other styles, when shown from the correct human reasoning, the various ways in this world favor long swords or find benefit in short swords alone. But to be predisposed towards strength or weakness in rough terms or in detail are all partial ways. Accordingly, though I have not revealed the entrances and depths of other styles, all should understand this. In my style, there is neither entrance nor depth to the sword, and there is no ultimate stance. There is only seeing through to its virtues with the mind. This is the essence of the martial arts. 12th day of the 5th month, 2nd year of Shōhō, Shinmen Musashi.